Hello, my name is Stephane Guez and I'm the CTO of Dalet. And I'm going to talk today about FIMS, which is an industry initiative. Basically FIMS, who benefits from it and why. So if I look at the state of our industry today, and especially from the perspective of deploying a media project, any IT-based media project requires a lot of integrations, typically with many systems, and it's almost always a pain point with unexpected difficulties. At the end, there are too many systems with proprietary interfaces, and as the result of that, it makes solutions very complex and costly to deploy and to maintain. This is a problem for broadcasters and media companies and for us vendors. So as a media asset management vendor, we know the problem, and let me explain our perspective. Dalet is a leading provider of media asset management solutions. We have 3 software-based platforms, Galaxy, which is our media asset management platform, Brio, which is our ingest and playout platform, and Amberfin, which is our QC and transcode platform. So we develop business solutions in production, radio, news, sports, program preparation based on these 3 platforms and using a set of applications, media-specific applications that we have developed over time, such as ingest, studio production, transcoding, playout, graphics, editing, things like that. So in addition to developing our portfolio of applications and solutions, in order to deploy a system, we have to integrate with a lot of third-party systems. So much so that over time, we have developed interfaces with probably well over 100 different third-party systems, and creating that way a sort of ecosystem of applications that we integrate with. But this is a challenge. Why is it a challenge, or why is it even a problem? Because we devote far too much effort, energy, time to developing this integration. Whether they are fairly sophisticated API-based integration, or whether they are very simplistic file-based integrations, first, they are the source of problems, and also they require a lot of attention and effort. So we view FIMS as an opportunity to resolve that integration complexity through better and stronger standards. The idea is that if integrations are built around standardized interfaces, they will be easier to develop, easier to maintain, and will benefit because it will be easier for other systems to integrate with our solutions, and will benefit because to integrate the component of a third party, of another company, would be easier. And of course, it will benefit us, the vendors, but also, of course, the media companies. So what is FIMS? FIMS is a framework. The first component of the FIMS framework is a set of standard interfaces. The ultimate goal of FIMS is to provide plug-and-play interfaces. Some of these interfaces are fairly simple, like in the case of the transfer and transform services. And some are more complex, like in the case of the repository interface, mainly because it has more operations and options. The other component of the FIMS framework is the data model, and sometimes this is underestimated. I think this is a key to the power and potential success of FIMS. FIMS provide a common representation for media assets. An important aspect of that data model is that it is extensible. And you can use these extensions to incorporate into the data model other standards. And that has been the case, for instance, with EBU Core that is used as the native metadata model of the FIMS data model. Finally, the vision of the FIMS enterprise is to promote service-oriented architecture for the media industry. This means exposing media application as services and relying on SOA architecture to build solutions. And this way to leverage standard IT technologies. SOA has been around in the IT world for at least 10 or 15 years. And so to be able to rely on the practices, on the best practices developed for the IT industry makes sense at a time where the media applications, media solutions, more and more are IT-based solutions. Finally, it will allow people to build solutions that are made of best-of-breed components, so that at the end, it's fairly easy to replace one of the components by another one using the standard interface. So by using a common architecture framework, a common vocabulary and data model, by using standard interfaces, FIMS has the potential to create an ecosystem that will benefit both media companies and vendors. Essentially, this ecosystem will replace the proprietary ecosystem that I have shown at the beginning of this presentation. If I look at the benefits from a vendor perspective, the idea is to, FIMS will allow us to provide more elaborate integration at a lower cost, and without having to do very low-cost integrations such as watch folders, which is very simple but creates a lot of issues for complex projects. The other benefit, of course, is to reduce the number of custom interfaces, and that mainly will reduce the cost of upgrading and maintaining systems with all its integrations. Over time, we spend a lot of effort to maintain over time, over changes in versions, integration that we have done previously. And it's not always simple to pass that cost to our customers. Finally, the idea is to devote less efforts to the integrations and to spend more time investing on core applications, which are what we do as businesses. The benefits from the perspective of media companies somehow mirror the benefits seen from the vendor perspective. I mentioned integration through watch folders that is far from being the ideal solution. The main issue from a user perspective is that it's difficult to track whatever is going on. So FIMS will provide integrations that allow for better tracking, better evolutions of system over time, and as well as lower cost. Again, the idea is to reduce, through well-defined interfaces, is to reduce the implementation and maintenance cost over time, and to allow a media company to take advantage of a new solution that would appear on the market, let's say a new transcoding application, and to be able to integrate that new solutions without to change the whole system, without to question the architecture, but just to replace one component by another one. There is no benefits without some cost and some challenges. So FIMS is definitely an ongoing effort. A lot of work remains to be done to complete that ecosystems of applications. And this is an industry which is in constant change, so that makes it a little more challenging. There's also cost on the vendor side that I will talk about in 1 minute. And Finally, I think it's important that broadcasters and media companies understand the constraints associated with the adoption of FIMS. They have to agree to build on the standards and to understand that the standards do have limits. And basically, can you live with these limits? From a vendor perspective, the cost, I would mention cost more in terms of, the technical effort necessary to expose application through FIMS interfaces. So I've said before, FIMS is both a data model and a set of interfaces. The data model is fairly rich. It takes some time to understand and navigate through the FIMS concept and operations. So there is definitely a learning curve to be able to do the work of exposing an application as a FIMS service. But at the same time, most modern systems already have APIs or SOA-like architectures. So exposing a system as a FIMS service does not require a complete architectural change. The other aspect is that the FIMS specifications include extensive documentation, implementation guidelines, reference implementation code to help the adoption of FIMS, and that should also reduce the effort, the cost of the effort to develop these standardized interfaces. In more general terms, the challenges that are associated with FIMS is that defining standards, and that goes with other standards as well. It's a slow process in an industry that changes quickly. So FIMS, it's still at its beginning, and there are gaps, but the gaps are being recognized. FIMS 1.2 is going to be released in the near future. It already addresses some of these gaps, and it provides additional services and functionalities. So this is a work in progress. The other aspect is that there is already many custom and proprietary interfaces that have been put together by vendors and their customers. So the adoption of FIMS is only going to happen step by step. There have been a lot of effort and money invested into these custom interfaces, so they are not going to be dropped overnight. Again, the FIMS-based integration imposes constraints about what you can do and what you cannot do. The trade-offs between what it brings, mainly the standardization, the simplification, the lower cost over time, and what you may lose, tight integration and performance. Basically, the long-term benefits, in order to take advantage of the long-term benefits, there are some short-term challenges because of that. Finally, but of course this is a biased perspective, opinion, the drive has to come from the broadcasters and media companies to push for the adoption of FIMS in a broad way. Now, in order for the FIMS enterprise to work, you have different actors who are going to rely on FIMS, media asset management companies, people who developed orchestration systems or workflow engines. They are going to rely on connectors to control FIMS compliant services. So that will only work if indeed the interfaces that have been built by vendors are really FIMS compliant. The worst would be that you expect to connect to a transcoding system or to a QC system. You developed a FIMS connector and it does not work. The promise of the FIMS ecosystem is plug and play, but in order to do that, there should be a lot of attention paid to compliance. One aspect of that is that, as I mentioned before, the FIMS data model allows for extensions, but extensions should not be abused, otherwise they would lead to many distinct flavors of FIMS, and part of the benefits would be lost. Now, I think this is an understood challenge, and the FIMS community is developing a lot of mechanisms to validate interfaces, again, to ease the adoption in a wide way. I would like to end this presentation with an example of a practical example of how this ecosystem can work and bring benefits. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, part of the Dalet platforms is Brio, which is our I/O platform, basically providing ingest and playout services. We would like to promote and to promote Brio as a standalone application, as a standalone solution in the media market. And in order to do that, it would be good to have an API, but we did not have a published public API to Brio. So we decided to implement a FIMS capture interface instead of inventing a proprietary API. What is interesting in that effort is that when we were done, there was an immediate benefit that we did not anticipate at the beginning. For us, in order to promote that Brio as a standalone package solution, it would be good if there is many applications around it. And one aspect would be to connect it to an Adobe Premiere editing tool. So Adobe has been interested in FIMS for a while. I'd actually developed an ingest plugin for Adobe Premiere. So basically, out of the box, for free, we got an integration with Adobe Premiere by having developed a capture interface, a FIMS capture interface in our Brio server. So this is the way how this ecosystem is going to be built brick by brick and benefit the whole media industry at the end. Thank you.